Hey guys, Peter here to do an album review. Today I'm here to tell you all about the latest from Iku-Turso, Pakana, out May 15th on Wolfspell. This album has 9 tracks, 43 minutes in length, and this is the band's second full-length studio album. To start off, I want to say that this is a concept album. They're telling you the story of a pagan character's journey in the wilderness of ancient Kainu. And that is the main focus, that is the guideline of what this album is going to be like. Beyond that, they decided to create 9 tracks, and each track becomes a chapter into that story. I like this idea. I really like the fact that each song is a piece of the story. Obviously there's a continuation, but each song sits on its own part of a bigger picture. That is really the overall structure that the album has to offer. This allows the sound to be a lot more dynamic. It allows the tracks to have their own individual identity, but still be part of a much bigger, broader picture. Now, the other thing that I noticed immediately listening to the album is that this is not your traditional black metal album. It doesn't fall into the strict guidelines of that genre. You see a lot of pagan folk elements being added to the record, even some symphonic elements. And in my opinion, you really need those elements there in order to better tell the story, in order for the tracks to really come to life, and for you to be able to paint a vivid picture of what the songs are about, of what the concept of the album is about. If you just have black metal here, you really have a very narrow path in which you can travel on. By adding those different elements, you really create an album that comes to life at every single turn. Very dynamic, very fluid. Every song has its own DNA, has its own structure, its own approach, its own influences, and still becomes part of this much larger picture. And you really expect that from an album that has this kind of concept. A story is not linear. There's no story that is just straightforward. Every single story has ups and downs, climatic moments, moments of anguish, moments of pain. The character changes, the character evolves as the story progresses. So the album and the tracks have to represent that story, they have to represent that character. So adding those different influences, adding those pagan folk influences, and like I said, even some symphonic elements into the mix of the overall sound really allows the album to be a lot more dynamic. It allows the album to represent the concept a lot better and makes the album overall more fluid. You really feel that, like I said, while the songs are very individual, they're still very interconnected with the overall atmosphere, with the overall message that they have. I touched a little bit on the structure, and to me the structure is fundamental for the sound of the record. Like I said, this is an album that, it's a concept album. The two elements are intertwined. The music, the sound, the delivery, and the overall structure of the album are interconnected. You cannot have one without the other. One dictates the pace of the other and vice versa. So this is an album that has pretty much a roller coaster ride from track to track. You really don't know where the next song is going to take you, because you don't know what's going to happen as far as the story is concerned on the next chapter, on the next track. So you could have a song that's very driven, that's very gritty, very heavy, very brutal, because that's that part of the story that the character is living in. And then the next track could be something completely different, more melancholic, more down to earth, more grounded, because it's a more introspective moment of the story where the character is taking a different approach, or where he is in a different place mentally. So that's the kind of structure that you're going to have, and like I said, it plays perfectly to the overall sound of the album because the two are interconnected. I really don't think you can have one without the other, specifically because it is a concept album, and it is an album where each single song is a chapter of that main story. Vocally, I really like this record. I like this record because they also did not take a linear approach as far as the vocals are concerned. That would also be perhaps a clutch that you would hold on to if you were going down that same path of just creating a pure black metal album. You would also go with one single vocal approach all the way through. But once again, this is a story. It's volatile, it's fluid, it has ups and downs. So the same way I felt that the sound had to represent the overall concept and the overall story, the vocals have to do the same thing. There are different moments within the story that call for a different approach. So overall, the album has really harsh, dark, brutal at times vocals. I like them because to me, they really enhance the spirit of the album. They really enhance the story that they are telling you, but the inclusion of some clean vocals, almost like a narrator style vocals, and even whispering and a little bit of layers to the vocals really adds enough texture. It really adds enough nuances to change the perception of the listener when you're going through each and every single song. And it creates dynamic balances within the tracks. It doesn't give the tracks this sense of a routine, of every song having the same approach, the same delivery, the same sound, same vocals. So I really like the fact that they incorporated a few different styles, a few different approaches. To me, it enhanced the songs, it enhanced the story, it allows the listener to better connect with what's coming through to you through the music. So overall, it really enriched the experience of the record, and it really enriched the overall storytelling aspect of this album. Overall, this is a really well-crafted album, really ambitious, but well executed at the same time. I wasn't too sure of what to expect, or at least I wasn't too sure if they were going to hit the nail on the head, because when you have a concept like this, it's not as easy to deliver as if you just go with a straightforward black metal album. It creates different nuances, it creates different difficulties, there's other elements at play. You have to stay true to the story, you have to create different nuances. So all of these things are at play when you're creating an album like this, and for a second record for this band, I thought this was really an ambitious project, an ambitious approach to go with an album that has this kind of concept, that has this kind of approach. I think they delivered. I think they did a wonderful job. I really enjoyed this record. The more I listened to it, the more I discover it. I felt that it had an incredible atmosphere. It's not an atmospheric album by no means. In my opinion, it's not. But when you're listening to the music, when you're listening to these tracks, and you get engulfed into the story, you really start to feel like there's an overall sense of an atmosphere that surrounds this album. And that to me comes more from the music, from the different nuances of the different elements mixed in it with black metal that really create that environment. Not necessarily from the vocal approach, but more so from the music itself. So I really like what they've done here. Kudos to them. Like I said, second album for the band. This was a very ambitious project that, in my opinion, really delivers on all fronts. For fans of the genre, fans of black metal, pagan black metal, I really believe that this album is going to hit home. It has a lot of great elements. It's really well executed, really well mixed, by the way. I really like what they've done here. The sound is really strong, clear. It's not polished. It's not a polished album, and when you're looking at pagan black metal or black metal in general, you don't want it to be polished. You want it to have some raw, some grittiness to it. This album has that, but to me, and how it was mixed, how it was put together, it allows every single element of the album to showcase itself. There's not one element hiding everything else behind it and being the main driving force. This is an album that it's worth by its collective, not by the individualities. As far as songs are concerned, I want to start off with Bellum, a song that has a heavy, raw sound to it. To me, this is one of the tracks that you can really pinpoint that it's influenced by Norwegian black metal. It just has a little bit more grittiness than some of the other tracks on the album. It also has some sparks of brightness, not many. This is a song that does not offer a lot of bright moments to it. It's predominantly a dark, heavy, driven track. The vocals are the perfect outlet for the overall atmosphere that the song has and the brutality that it holds. Almost giving a sense of a ceremony at times. I really felt listening to this song that there was some moments within the music itself you felt like you were being part of a spiritual ceremony. It had that feel to it. It had that kind of calming embrace to it. But overall, it's still a very dark, heavy, driven, guitar-driven song that just really punches a hole through the wall when you're listening to it. Next, Ashes, a more melancholic track, a more melancholic melodic track. It really has some sporadic moments that increases intensity, but overall, when you're looking at the big picture, this is a really methodic, melancholic, melodic track that moves very slowly across itself. The sporadic use of whispering, clean vocals add to the darkness that the song has, and I really like that. They really come in almost like a narrator, words are coming out very slowly. It's like the character is talking to you, but it's talking to you with clean vocals, but with a very dark approach, a very somber approach. And to me, that adds such an incredible atmosphere to the song. It really brings the track to life. I love it. A song that has, in its heaviest moments, the drums taking the brunt of the force, becoming the major element of the heaviness of the track, really giving the song a little bit of a heartbeat, because it flatlines throughout most of it, but when it becomes a little bit heavier, you really feel like the drums are coming in and becoming that heartbeat of the track. The dynamic between those two elements, between the flatlining and the heartbeat, really gives a great dynamic to the track. It becomes a lot more fluid. You feel like the song picks up in pace and starts to move quicker through it. I love that dynamic. I love that change because the two are so different from each other. It's a really introspective song, in my opinion. It really shows a little bit of the character's inner self. A song that closes off with a lot more violence than you were expecting. The song has, like I said, a lot of this flat line, and then the heaviness of the drums gives the heartbeat, gives that punch through. But towards the last third of the song really starts to drain or at least to suck energy into itself, and it starts to become bigger, more volume, heavier, sounding a lot larger, gaining momentum. You feel like something is about to explode, something is brewing there. And then as it ends with still the main guitar riff. The guitar riff on this track, the melody of the guitar riff is absolutely incredible. Very dark but very melodic, and it comes in and out of the track. It just weaves itself in and out. And then during that more heavier portion of the track, as it's closing, that melody still comes in. It still has its presence there and allows that heaviness eventually to dissipate as the track closes off. Perfect construction, perfect way of ending this song. Last but not least, Solace. This is the closing track on the album. This song to me brings a sense of finality to the record. You really feel like this is the curtain coming down on the album. The story is at its end. This is the last chapter. You have to create a song that gives you this atmosphere of finality, gives you this atmosphere of getting closure, and this song to me is the perfect track because it's really created with that in mind. Very methodic, a lot of folk elements. I would say that this is more a folk song that has a lot of black metal influences into it than a black metal song that has folk influences into it. I feel like this is the other way around. This track kind of feels a little bit in reverse. The atmosphere that the song has, it's great. I said that, and I really feel that. I think that this is a song that really showcases the closing of the record, and that is really present in how the song sounds and the atmosphere that it holds. The guitar riff really drives this song through. It's really powerful, it's really melodic, it's really methodic at the same time, but it really feels like it's holding you and pulling you through the track. It's holding you by your hand and just walking you through the maze that it is, the story that is this track as it comes to an end. The explosion of sound at the midway point resets the song. It elevates the track. It almost gives you a sense of a rebirth at the last chapter. Gives you a sense of a rebirth right in the middle of the track. Resets it, but then it allows it to quickly return to its origins. It quickly goes back into that more methodic, more melodic approach with those folky elements and presence. And then as it's finishing, you get this guitar melody that turns into this incredible feedback that just goes all the way into the song until it completely dissipates away. What a closing, what anticlimactic or climatic for some closing of a track, but closing of an album, really giving this sense of finality, of life slipping away. It's finished, it's over, and they did that with that guitar riff that moves into feedback, and then that eventually just completely dissipates off the track. I love the construction of this song, but to me, I have to go back to it once again. The atmosphere that this song holds, the feeling that you get when you're listening to this song, you really have a feeling of ending, of finality to it. And that to me comes from the melody, comes from the sound, not as much from the vocals. The vocals still have a lot of power in it, but the way the music is coming across, it really paints a picture of the end. Love this song, love how it finished with that guitar feedback. It was absolutely incredible. Alright guys, this is it. This is Iku-Turso with Pakana. Once again, out May 15th on Wolfspell. Let me know your thoughts on the band. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.